What is up, guys, and welcome to Built. My name is Caleb, and this is our $3,000 budget wide-body Corolla. This is a '79 Corolla wagon. It's a classic, and they're very hard to find in the States, but we found this one and paid a very small amount of money for it. And there's a reason. It has a lot of rust, it doesn't run really great, and we're sorting all of that out. But as we sort that out, we're also doing really cool stuff. Last video, we did fender flares on the front, and we did fender mirrors. Both of those came out awesome, and I really love the way they look, but we had to do a lot of clearancing to get it all to fit and work together. We cut out a ton of fender material. We had to move our lip forward basically 1.5 inches so that we could steer the wheels, and they can work and function fine now, which I think that's the hardest part of a wide body kit, is getting your front wheels to function properly. When you move them way out from where they're used to being, they just start running into everything, and that's what happened with this car as well. But I think we're fully cleared out now, so we should be good. We'll know when we lower it. We've definitely got to add some camber in the front. The next project for this car is the rear fenders. Now, they are going to split because we're going to open the back doors, and the front of the fender will be connected to the door. The back will be connected to the quarter panel, and that's a pretty complicated procedure. I learned that the hard way with my Audi. I did basically everything wrong, and it took a long time to fix. So I'm gonna try to do it right this time. I learned a lot of lessons last time I did a fender flare on a car with back doors, and I think that it's gonna work out pretty well, I hope. If it goes well, we have other things to work on in this video. If it doesn't go well, then hopefully we'll at least just get these done. We'll see. I'm confident, so we'll see if that confidence remains throughout the course of today. But I'm ready to get these flares on so we have a fully, properly widened, classic Japanese car in the garage. All right, let's do it. The problem with mounting them right here is they're just too low, and they're gonna look really funny when you stand back off the car. That's like, I think, the most common problem, most common mistake people make when mounting universal flares like this. There's no reference as to how high it needs to be, and people almost always mount them low, because when you're up close, you're like, oh yeah, that fitment looks cool. When you step back, it looks like the fender's like sinking or something. I don't know, it's really weird. So I'm just trying to match this to the height of the actual fender. I think that's good, boys. Yeah. All right, I'm really happy with this. Now, if you're gonna tackle a job like this, where you're gonna split your fender so the door can open, there's a couple things that you need to know. Here's the first thing. When I put this up here, there's no pressure on the fender. So I'm not stretching it, pulling it, trying to get it to make a certain shape. It's just staying the shape that it is, and that's gonna be the shape that it just stays. Because if you start pressuring it and pulling on it and tweaking it, when you cut it, it's gonna pop out to whatever direction it wants to go. That happened with the Audi, and it was a pain to fix. So what I did is I just mounted it very easily here and in the back. We're not gonna mount these other ones. We're gonna make our cut for our door, and then we will mount the rest of the fenders and get everything to line up. I think that's gonna work without me having to do anything else, but we'll see. I think this is smart. I hope this is smart. We'll see. I think that because I didn't leave them connected, now I can just make them match up. And wherever I screw them in is where they're gonna be. And I think it's gonna work. And I don't even think I'm gonna have to build custom stuff. But if we gotta build custom stuff, this is built and we will do it. All right. Okay. it looks pretty good. Now I've got a little bit of adjustment here. I gotta pull this out. And I think the way I'm gonna do it, I think I'm actually gonna make some supports inside the door just to kind of like, I don't know, do maybe that or something. I haven't decided. It's holding itself together pretty well, but I really want that line to be as smooth as possible, this kind of transition. I cut a 3/16 inch gap in the fender to match the door, so the door line just kind of continues down this way. Overall though, much better than last time. Much better. I mean, it already works, and that would probably ride. I don't think anybody would ever say anything about it, but we're gonna try to make it a little bit better. I gotta do some thinking. I'll be right back. We're back. It's been about 2 seconds. I fixed it. So that's pretty cool. I just tightened this screw down and that pulled everything in. So I think that where this sits is gonna be pretty dependent on how tightly it's held to the body. And we may end up having to run 2 more screws right here in the very end. I'll figure that out. There's not a spot for them, so design-wise, it's not going to look the best. But that'll make sure that these don't get ripped off, because if somebody does pull there, you've got a lot of open area right here. So we'll figure that out. I may do that. I may make something. Cool. I didn't think that was going to be that easy. But wow, that was, I don't even know if I spoke English just then. I did not think that was going to be that easy, but it really was. So we'll leave it at that for now, and I may come back. I don't really like that, which when I have riv nuts, it'll be different, because these will hold down a lot tighter. I think worst case scenario with this, I'm going to leave it like this. Worst case scenario is I end up gluing this edge, panel bond or whatever, but overall, very happy. I will address this gap once I've got this thing on for good. I don't want to go too crazy into cutting this gap and making it all match perfectly and then end up having to shift something and it ruins that gap. So we'll do that in the bodyworking phase. The next thing we need to do, I guess, is pull these back off and cut a lot of metal away. This is fun. All right, let's do it. So the other side went very poorly, and one of the reasons was I cut along this body line, and the problem with that is it kind of rolls away. So when I went to weld, there was a much bigger gap than it seemed in there, and it was just making it really difficult. I managed to get it to stick together, which is good, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently on this side and hopefully alleviate that problem altogether. I've got to get some fiberglass filler for that side, so I'm going to go ahead and mount this fender and probably make this cut before we go and finish the other side. Hopefully this one will go much better than the last one. Alright, so it's a new day. Yesterday did not end very well. I worked on this fender a bunch, and basically when I mounted it, it had a little bit of stress on it. When I cut it, it just went crazy. So we got it to fit right, and it's at the right height and everything. Everything worked out. We got it to work, so that's awesome. So what we gotta do now is do the same thing to this side that we did to the other side. But we're gonna make some changes. Let me show you. So I cut inside of this indentation on the last one that made it very hard to weld. So what we're gonna do is cut right up here on this ridge and see if that makes it any easier. This is my first time doing this, like, and doing the welding as well. I've always taken it to friends to have them weld it, so this is a new experience for me, and hopefully we can do better with this one. My dad left his glasses in here and I'm using them. I feel like an old man. All right, that's a lot of cutting. So what I'm gonna do this time that I didn't do last time is I'm gonna clean this before I make all my little indentions to fold it up. I think that's gonna make it a lot easier. We'll clean this side as well. I decided to leave this little lip. I'm gonna try to fold it all the way up onto the metal. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this thing out as I go. All right, sanding time. All right, that side went way better than the last and still took forever. I'm burning up. It is so hot in here. So I'm gonna take a break, cool off, get some food, and then we'll finish these things off. Ugh.
In your feelings. I've been all in them trenches. Though they notice me flexing.
All right, so you can see where the white marks are. That's where I'm gonna hit with another coat of fiberglass filler just to make sure everything is filled in. This primer really helps you see if you've got any gaps or if you've missed anything. Overall, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It looks super smooth, considering, you know. But the real thing, ow. The main focus of this is gonna be right here. So when you open the door, you're gonna see this arch that I cut and re-welded. So that's why I'm doing this whole fiberglass thing. What I've done in the past, like what's done on my MR2, I've had other people do the welding for me, and then I basically just glob on seam sealer and seal it up that way, and it works. It's just very ugly. It's not very pretty at all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna body work this all the way out and make this a smooth transition. So when you open the door, it'll look like, hopefully it'll look kind of like it was made that way from the factory. Now obviously it wasn't, but it should be a nicer thing to look at than just a bunch of seam sealer globbed on to remind you this car was cut apart. So I think the fiberglass is gonna work. It's really strong. It doesn't really flex. This type of fiberglass doesn't flex a lot. It will seal out against water and all of that cool stuff. So I think this is gonna work, but I am testing this process. I don't know if this is actually legitimate. Go over to this side. And this side went much smoother. You can see the shape is a little bit different. That's because I welded this differently. I welded it much better. And there's only maybe 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, where I've got to go back and refill. So all of this will get a coat of Bondo as well and get smoothed out. This you'll never see. It'll be under fender flare, but this right here you will see. And you can tell, I mean, even just with that quick run of fiberglass filler, that looks way better. When you open the door, you'll see this real clean kind of opening, and the tire, it'll be like right there. So you actually see a big chunk of the tire when you open the door, which I think is pretty cool. I'm happy with this. This is good. Now I'm out of gloves and I'm out of spreaders, so I've got to get some more of both of those things. So we'll finish this body working when we do the rest of the car. For now, we're going to throw these fenders back on and set this thing back down on the ground and see what it looks like all put together. So I'm definitely going to figure out a support system to keep this in line. You can see it's wanting to go out of line. We'll probably do something like we did with the A4 and build like a triangular support just to hold it in place. That way that gap stays the same all the time no matter what. There it is. This thing looks insane. Check it out. Man, I'm so stoked on how this came out. We've got full clearance all the way around. The wheels turned. It obviously rolls and drives. This is the first time it's been out in the daylight in like 2 weeks. And it just looks so crazy. So you can see we need to come down on the front. The front's sitting a little bit high, so we'll pull that down, camber the wheels in, and I think we'll be set on our stance. So next week we're gonna start one of two things. We're either gonna start body working and fixing all the rust and getting everything flat so we can paint this thing, or we're gonna start adding some new parts so it'll run a little bit better. As you heard, it's not running great right now. I can move it, but that's about it. So I've got a brand new carburetor coming in. It should be here very soon. I've got some other cool trinkets we're gonna put on the car that should help with performance and make it a lot more fun to drive. So we may go into that on Tuesday, or if that stuff doesn't come in time, we'll start working on rust and getting this thing flattened out for paint. We are moving right along and this thing is coming out awesome. But that's enough talking for right now. Take a look at this thing in the actual daylight. It's incredible.